Howdy, everybody. We're here at Frederick Winehouse. You're listening to the Voice of the House. My name's Beau. I'm part of the wine team here at Frederick Winehouse, and I've got my friend here with me. We're going to talk about some awesome stuff.
Hi, my name is Al. I'm a specialist with Republic National. I specialize in Asian spirits, and I'm very excited to be here and be doing this and sharing some information with you all.
And how did you wind up getting into Asian spirits? What led you to this?
So prior to working with Republic National, I was actually working at a restaurant in downtown in DC called Oku, and I became the bar manager there a little bit after we opened, and that's really where, I dove headfirst into sakes, sochu, just all these wonderful Asian spirits, and just really fell in love. And after my time there, moving into the distributor side, an opportunity came in after Republic National acquired Youngwon Trading, and there was a position open, and I was lucky enough to be able to get that and continue working with my favorite spirits that there are.
Cool. It's awesome stuff to drink. It's fantastic to be here talking to you about it. I wanted to ask, what kind of people do you get to meet working with Asian spirits? It's probably a blast to get to meet. Do you talk to brewers and winemakers, or is it just reps?
Oh, we get to talk to. I get to talk to everybody, which is really fantastic. Recently, we had a wonderful trade show at the MGM, and a lot of brewers, owners came in. But then we also get visits from the same people, and we ride with them, and they get to share their knowledge with our accounts, and so I get to see firsthand and learn firsthand knowledge of what it takes to produce, and many, many more details about just what the products are and what they're all about than you do from reading, from the people that make it and put all the work into it, because it is a lot of work to make these products.
So then we could probably say that you have an inordinate amount of experience here.
I do have a little bit of knowledge, but we are ever learning and ever growing. That's the one thing when you're working with spirits and with these products is there's so many stories, and there's just so much that you can learn that you really just learn every day. You're never going to stop learning when it comes to spirits.
There's a really rich history behind a lot of this stuff.
I'm dating back hundreds and hundreds of years.
So then we're dealing with serious tradition here.
Very much so. And and our portfolio covers, traditions from, different countries and different cultures that date back, to 1500s, to where people started to really make alcohol.
Mm-hmm. So for our viewers at home, for people who might not really understand what Asian spirits can be, what is sake?
Okay, so one, I'll tell you what sake isn't.
Okay.
Sake isn't wine, and sake isn't beer.
Okay.
So sake, it's really its own product. So sake is made out of water, rice, yeast, and something called koji. And koji is essentially it's a mold that's used to extract the sugar from the rice to feed the yeast for fermentation.
And now in terms of sourcing, where does koji come from?
Well, koji's it's a mold.
Mm-hmm. Is it just
So they're different method. They're different methods. Traditionally, you can get koji from molded rice,
Okay.
and so you can either make your own koji, or you can. It's something that you can also source that you can source. So it really depends on what style you're making. The old style sake, they did make a molded rice, the koji rice, and that was used in the making of it.
Okay. So, I mean, we're dealing with a pretty good variety here between like sakes and sojus, and what kind of stuff are we looking at today?
Okay. Well, if we want, did you want to start with since we already did a little sake introduction, we can go into just a couple of the sakes that I brought.
Absolutely.
I know that we are going into, that warm time of the year. Mm-hmm. So this one really exciting sake that you all have here that I wanted to introduce is the Amabuki, the Ichigo. This is a Junmai Ginjo.
Now, sorry to cut you off. What is Junmai? What does Junmai or Ginjo mean?
Okay, so we talked about kind of what goes into making it. Mm-hmm. As we all know, rice typically is always brown and has a lot of fats and proteins on the outside. Mm-hmm. Fats and proteins don't make very good alcohol.
Right.
Sugar makes good alcohol. So when you talk about these classifications, essentially, they take the rice and they polish the rice and polish some of the outside away to really get to the core, where that's more of where your sugar is going to be. So those terms really are how much of the rice was polished.
Okay.
So when you're talking about a ginjo means that the original grain of rice has been reduced to between 50 and 60%. That's what ginjo means. Then there's another classification called daiginjo, where that's 50% or more of the rice was removed.
Gotcha.
And then when you see a word called junmai essentially refers to almost like pure, which means it just has the rice, water, yeast, and koji. Because there is another classification, and I know that this is a lot of verbiage, and we'll go, further podcasts will go more into a little bit more detail of this. But
absolutely.
Sometimes brewers do add a little bit of alcohol in there for flavor. So when you get more into, when they do that, it's more you're talking about a hanjozo.
Okay.
So, but junmai essentially means it just has those 4 ingredients that we talked about, and the ginjo just has to deal with the polish. Generally, the more polish you have, the more fruit and floral notes you get. Again, it's not going to be sweet. It just, those are the notes that it has. And junmais just tend to be a little bit more earthy.
Gotcha.
So that's a 1-minute crash course into a little bit of sake.
A little overview.
We'll
definitely get more into it in the future,
now,
listeners.
The wonderful thing is that here we have at Frederick Winehouse, we have you and other staff members that are knowledgeable in this. So viewers here can come in
absolutely
and ask you more of these questions. They can be like, "Oh, I heard about this Junmai Ginjo on a podcast," and you all here are more than happy to help them out and really guide them through the journey. Without
a doubt. Myself and several of our staff members are, I would say, fanatics is a good way to put it. Sake on the reg is kind of a mainstay around the house.
And it's great that you said sake, because one misconception and one little almost like faux pas is people say sake. It's sake. And
it's certainly not pronounced sake.
No, it's sake. And another funny thing is, if in Japan, actually, the actual sake actually only means like one alcohol.
Okay.
I don't know if you had ever heard this. In if you want to order what we consider sake here in Japan, it's called nihonshu.
Okay.
So nihonshu is actually classified as a beverage made from rice, water, yeast, and koji.
But in Japan, sake is just.
You're just asking for an alcohol.
So then you ask them for a cup of sake,
here,
they're gonna.
But here, sake is.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of funny because when you go over there, there's just different meaning.
Got you.
That's something that I had never known.
Well, and God knows if you go out to the sushi joints out here in America, you see that list, you're going to be overwhelmed with a bunch of different options. They'll have hot sake and cold sake.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into it.
Yeah, we will.
So, you mentioned this amabuki.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so this. So Amabuki is just a wonderful producer, and you have this on the shelf.
We do.
And the one great thing with this sake is it's actually the yeast in it. It's a strawberry yeast, so this is a great sake for the summertime, because I know everyone says rosé all day. However, this is just a great option to have, because you get a lot of those very nice fruit notes, which we'll taste in a moment. But the one thing that I really enjoy with sake over with a wine is if you're just talking about just like drinkability. Obviously, for a hot day, your Junmai Ginjo, as we talked about earlier, a little bit more polish, a little bit going to be on those more floral notes. That's a sake that you especially want to be served more chilled. Mm-hmm. So if you're talking outside, great to have chilled. Sake actually has over 6 times less acidity than wine. So if you're just out there enjoying, it's much easier on the stomach than just having a lot of wine. A lot of them just turn into just almost an acid bomb, and it just, if that's all if you're just out there drinking that, don't really have much food, like it can be a little unsettling.
Right.
But sake is just it's a lot softer, and you also don't have, tannins or sulfites that also some people are a little sensitive to, whether
Absolutely.
they may know it or not.
If you're getting a headache from sake, it's because you're not drinking water.
Yeah, it's because you're just not, because alcohol will just give you a headache in general. But, even drinking water, sometimes wine will give me a headache.
Right.
But that's one of the reasons that I also love sake, because I don't get a headache, and I love it with food too. Sake is underrepresented in food. If you talk to master sommeliers, they will tell you that there is no food that doesn't pair with sake. Sake pairs with everything.
See, I had often heard that that sake was really meant for fish, but you're telling me that I could serve this with a nice steak?
So,
maybe not this one, but
there's obviously you can have it with a nice steak. Like if you go to a they serve. If you think about some of the best steak in the world, you think about
Kobayashi
Japan.
beef.
Exactly, and they're not drinking. They're not just drinking a Cabernet with it.
Right.
So you could get better pairings. Like if you want to have both shine, sometimes maybe if you have like something that's like very rich, maybe having like an earthier sake to kind of pair with it also would be nice, so you're not kind of overshadowing the sake. So if you have delicate fish, obviously a delicate sake is very nice. But you can have like a Junmai Ginjo is great because you have a little bit of earthy qualities, and then you also have a lot of those fruit and floral qualities. So if you want to have sake with tacos or with whatever you're having for dinner, sake is amazing. Sake pairs really well. I know when we do like cheese and charcuterie boards.
Mm-hmm.
Cheese and different cheeses and different sakes have also very different, interesting plays with each other. So that's always a great option. Also, if you're just sitting at home watching a movie, sometimes when you taste different sakes with each other, a fun pairing with it, and that I see a lot of some of these like great like sake experts.
If you're about
that I
to say
work with
popcorn, I'm going to lose it.
It's popcorn, yeah.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, popcorn.
Is it the butter? Is it the salt? Just
Yeah.
overall?
But when you have popcorn, you do have a little, salt brings out flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Fat brings out flavor. Also, popcorn has a little, corn has a little bit of sweetness to it
Mm-hmm.
inherently. And when you pop it, little nuttiness. So like you have a little bit of everything in there, and when you try different sakes with popcorn, you kind of pick up different notes.
I never would have known. Plans for later.
I know.
Something to think about tonight.
Something to think about for tonight, and for the next time we're here, we'll have some popcorn. And when we focus on sake,
Absolutely.
we'll bring some popcorn, and then just try different sakes with popcorn, and you'll notice the interactions and the flavor combinations are going to be a little bit different.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. So let's give this one a try.
Let's dive on in.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna
let's not.
get that sucker away from the
Yeah,
from the liquid.
let's not break everything. I'm not trying to break everything on the first one.
At least not yet.
Not yet. No.
We got to wait till the full soju episode.
Oh, with the full soju, yeah.
We'll get there, folks.
Yeah, we will. Here, we'll just put this in front so everyone can see.
And now, I also meant to ask in terms of like tradition,
Mm-hmm.
right? When. See, I'm picking up on that fruit right off the bat.
You pick up on the fruit, but then also you get this like, it's almost like wild field strawberries.
Yeah.
But on your palate also, because you get this like full flavor in it of like this umami, which umami really is like it's like a full flavor experience. Like it just like covers your entire mouth. So you get this like earthiness that really balances out the fruit. So you get this like lovely taste of like fresh strawberries, which luckily for us, my in-laws actually have a little strawberry patch. So
Okay.
when we go over there, we get some fresh. So that's what it reminds me of, just like fresh strawberries with some earthiness to balance it all out.
Now, you mentioned umami, and you and I know what umami tastes like, or what it is specifically, but a lot of our listeners might not have even heard the term. How would you describe umami?
So umami, I think a lot of people just think umami is like the taste of like mushrooms, but it's really just, it's one of the senses, it's one of like the tastes that we have, but it really covers like, it's really almost like the fullness, like it covers like, it's like full coverage, because most of when you taste, you only taste in certain parts of your mouth and your tongue.
Yeah, you get the sweet up front and the I think it's like
And
bitter on the sides.
And then you got acidity is more in the jowls. But umami is just like a full coverage. So when you have sake, you just get this, it's like fullness of flavor.
And in terms of, just for a point of comparison, what other kind of foods would we see umami in?
Well, one in particular, and this also goes with it, is if you think about like soy.
Okay.
Like when you think about just like fullness, like like when you have your sushi, when you have your soy sauce with it, you get this like burst
that big
goes
mouth
all
feel, yeah.
over. It's just that full coverage.
And it's not necessarily salty, but it's the density.
Yeah, it's
the savory.
Yeah, it's just this like savory fullness that just hits your entire palate.
Awesome.
So for a warm day, we
I was gonna say that's I think the term I would use is a front porcher. I'm sitting out there with a bucket of ice and I'm just pouring.
Yeah. And the one thing that I like about these sakes, and I love this one, is if you're a wine drinker, if you're a white wine drinker, it's for you.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a red wine drinker, it's still for you. You get red wine has a wonderful fullness about it, and you get that even with this sake. So you get a little bit of both worlds, and that's kind of one of the reasons that I really love it and wanted to kind of showcase it today, because just the diversity of flavor inside of it, it kind of has a little bit for everybody.
Yeah, I'd definitely say for a lot of my rosé drinkers and my Pinot Grigio drinkers who are looking for those brighter and softer and crisp finish kind of flavors, this might be an entirely new world for them.
Yeah, and then just drinking it by itself, and then once we talk about the food opportunities, I mean, I could drink that while eating almost anything.
Absolutely.
So
Nice piece of chicken,
yeah,
something a little acidic, some piccata maybe.
and as we were talking earlier about the acidity aspect, if you think about it, let's say you're outside and you are, watching the summer figure and you're going to have a salad, I would much prefer a sake with a vinaigrette on a salad to wine personally, because you're just acidity on top of acidity. Like it's
This
almost
way we
too
get
much.
something clean.
You get a little bit more balance, because again, you're talking over 6 times less acidity. So I know that's hard to visualize, but that's why you come in here, try some sake, and you'll taste the difference. I always tell people, just have fun with things. Do a little side by side and try, do a test of sake with wine also, and just see
the
how
difference
they're
is huge.
There's a huge difference. And the one thing that I also would like to let people know is sake, once it's opened, can be put in the fridge for a very long time.
I was going to say, one of these bottles that you have with you today is, you mentioned it's been open for a couple months now.
It's been, could be about 2 months. And we're going to try that next.
I'm excited. And just letting you folks know, all of the products that we're tasting today, that we're talking about today, you can find them here at Frederick Winehouse.
Yeah.
Ready to go and generally available.
And we are just scratching the surface on what they have here, because the selection is just so huge. We could only pick a couple.
Well, we love bringing in this awesome stuff because, there's really kind of a growth in it in the States here. I've seen a lot of people really picking up on how popular this stuff is and how delicious it can be.
Oh, the popularity growth in Asian spirits is huge. And just in what people are eating. I mean, if you look at new restaurant opens, a huge percentage are some Asian,
either Korean barbecue or sushi.
Oh, it's becoming huge. This what we're drinking now is this is actually a pretty special sake. This is Dasai 45. So like we talked about earlier, 45 means that 45, their number for 45 is that 45% of the rice is left.
So we're really getting into those.
We're getting into, like, these are, once you start getting into the daiginjos, I mean, this is a, small percentage of any sake that's made is made as a daiginjo. So you really start getting into, these are special. And this is made by Dasai. Dasai only makes daiginjos.
Okay.
And they are, I would consider them one of the gold standards of of just daigenjos. Like they make amazing products. You have several different ones of them. They also have some that are polished less, and you have some of those also.
I'm pretty sure we've got all the way down to the 23 over there.
And if you ever want to just try just a wonderful, light, floral, crisp sake, the 23 is one of my favorites. And I know that when there are trade shows and people try it, the 23 gets hit pretty hard.
Probably with pretty good reason.
Oh, with very good reason. It's amazing sake. And this actually, I don't know if people are going to be able to see it, but this is actually the nagori.
It's kind of cloudy, folks. The one that we tried earlier was completely clear, but this one, we've got a little bit of opacity on it.
Which is, so I know we've already talked about a lot of words when it comes to classifications when it comes to sake. Nagori deals with, essentially it's cloudy. So roughly translated, it's unfiltered, but it is filtered.
Okay.
It's just more coarsely filtered. So if you think about it, if you filter something through, a cheesecloth, it's going to be different than if you filter it through a coffee filter.
Exactly.
So you're still filtering it out so it's not chunky or, some do have a little bit more particles. Like some some will have a little bit more in them. However, with that little bit of more rice in there, you do get some almost more fun, like tropical qualities.
I get more of that banana. I'm also picking up on a much fuller body. It's a little bit denser than the last one.
So, those of us that like food with a little bit of spice, this is fantastic with spice. Because that creamy texture, almost like
balances it out a little bit.
Yeah. Because the two best things when you have something spicy are like milk and alcohol. Part of it's because like milk, you just get this like full coverage too, all over the palate, which helps cool it off. And then alcohol's one of the best if you're having spicy food. But if you have if you have other, you can't just drink a bunch of liquor.
Right.
So.
And I certainly wouldn't want to start slamming Baileys with my hot wings.
No, yeah, you don't. But this is a great, nagori is a great option. Like if you're having a spicy curry or just anything with spice, it's fantastic.
Really would help to balance it out a lot.
Yeah, I used to when I worked in the restaurant, when people would have something that was too spicy and I was behind the bar, and even if they weren't sake drinkers, I would give them a little bit. Hey. I would give them a little bit and be like, "Hey, try this, see how it goes." Two sips in, they're like, "All right, I want a glass of that now," because it really does. Not only does the flavor match well because you get those just lovely tropical notes. But again, when we talk about the tropical notes, like with this one, it's tropical in full, but it really has a wonderful floral quality to it, especially this one, and it doesn't have any sweetness. So when we talk about like tropical, automatically you start thinking, oh, it's gonna taste like it's gonna be sweet. It's gonna be like a pina colada.
It's gonna taste like a blue Seagram's or something, right? We're expecting Hawaiian punch.
Yeah, no, we are. You get the wonderful thing is you get these wonderful fruits, but you don't get the sweetness.
And it's still very light.
Very light.
Just by nature, it seems.
Yeah. So these are just two fun sakes that I wanted to bring in. One of them was just to let everybody know if you pick up a bottle, and even if you don't want to drink it all, this will stay 10 times longer than a wine will.
Absolutely. A Pinot Noir is going to spoil in like 2 or 3 days?
Even your white wines will not be good in the fridge even after, sometimes after a week. They're just not.
It just sours up anymore. A little bit, but this is going to last a while.
Obviously this is an extreme example, and
absolutely.
Normally we wouldn't keep sake this good in the fridge for that long, because you will lose a little bit. But it's kind of a good example of just how the drinkability is still there.
I was going to say, most of the time in my fridge, sake doesn't last longer than a week. But that's my fault, personally.
Yeah.
It's my own doing.
Well, sometimes, this is for science.
Yes, for science.
For science.
For science.
And just so people know, you can keep it in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, go out, buy something nice. I know we all enjoy having some drinks, but, everyone's watching a little bit more, how much
Absolutely.
they have. So just have a little bit, keep it in there, have it over some time. Don't feel like you're rushed. So, just, come here and just get yourself a really nice bottle that you're going to be able to enjoy over a couple weeks.
Right. And, I mean, as you were saying with people eating spicy food at the bar and tasting nigori for the first time, a lot of these Asian spirits can be a little daunting to the American consumer. But just like with those people at the bar, sometimes the first step can just be trying it.
Yeah, just
Just
try
getting
it.
a taste.
Just try it. You don't know if you're gonna like it till you try it, and that's why it's great. You can, come here, let someone like like when you're here, kind of what they normally like to drink, and then you can kind of lead them in the better pairing direction for what they may like.
Absolutely.
So there's so many different flavors that in sake that there's a sake for everybody. And even if you're just like a big like whiskey drinker, there's still some
Yeah.
there's sake for everyone.
Well, I was going to say we've got all sorts of stuff here today, don't we?
We do. We have a lot of stuff that isn't just sake, and now that we said whiskey, we can.
I was going to say, did you want to?
Yeah, we can transition into another great category called Baiju, which
I've got a bit of familiarity here.
You do.
Baijiu was definitely a bit of an adventure for me. When I first tried it, it was a little difficult. It was a little rough at first, but over time, it's really grown on me.
I would agree. So just so everybody knows, so Baijiu is it's a Chinese spirit.
Okay.
And it's to more easily compare it, it's almost like having an unaged whiskey.
Okay.
And it's actually made mostly typically from sorghum.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly sorghum. Sometimes different wheats are also included. But the interesting thing with Baijiu, and the reason that it is a little bit, sometimes of a curve for some people, is because it is, first of all, very regional.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends on just what region and how it's made.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites here in Tincha. This one is really nice because Baijiu sometimes are very, very high in alcohol.
Yeah.
Like that's 60%.
Right.
This one is, it's not there.
I think it's closer to 43, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's 43. So it's going to be a little bit lower in alcohol, which makes it a little bit easier for people to get into that category, because just like traditional Baijiu, this is actually, so it's fermented underground or in sometimes like clay pits.
Okay.
And some of the makers of different Baijus have been using the same pits since the Ming Dynasty.
So we're really talking about
we're talking
tradition here.
Tradition of in the mid 1500s.
Probably still a lot of the same people, a lot of the same families.
Yeah, the heritage in the Baijiu, and the one thing, and the one parallel that it has, since we just talked about sake, is just the nature of if people are looking for things that are, made by hand, made organically, even though it can't really be labeled organic.
Right.
If you're looking for that, these products
At least more sustainably.
that's where I also love this portfolio, because and we'll talk about it in future podcasts, and I hate to go back, but with the ginjos and the dai ginjos, everything for the dai ginjos is done by hand.
So there's a lot more care.
The craftsmanship and the care
put into this.
There's the highest quality and the highest craftsmanship and the highest care.
You probably don't see the same kind of waste either.
No.
That we do with a lot of wine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, everything is they try to put as little footprint. I mean, with wine, some makers have been getting a lot better and realizing that their sustainability for them to be able to produce is relying on how sustainable they're farming and making.
Right.
But that's been tradition with the soju, with baijiu and with sake forever.
Right. It's baked into the identity of the alcohol.
Because with baijiu and with sake, and obviously, people know from whiskey, water is so important. So
right.
Just the protecting of the water sources, because without those water sources, they don't have nearly the same product. So that's, one thing that I thought was kind of important to touch on is just, with the baijiu and with the sake, just you can't get any more of a craft product than this.
It's almost comparable to the kind of care and attention that we see with craft beer here in the States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a craft, it's an art. When you're making the dai ginjos, and also when you're making the baijiu, people sometimes typically live there, and this is during the season. They live there. This is their passion. It's essentially their kid from the time from seed to finished product. It's
right.
People devote their entire lives to making these products, and we get to just go to the shelf and pick one up, and it's nice to know just how much goes into it.
It's an honor and a privilege on our ends.
Oh, of course, and as I said before, most of the sake that's made isn't to these levels. So
right.
The fact that we can, affordably just go and get some of the best product in the entire world is
absolutely
awesome. So I know we went back a little bit from the baijiu, but so as we were talking about earlier, the baijiu is fermented in those tanks underground, and then it's stored in like clay pots, and that's where it's aged. So it's not really aged in oak, so you don't get that oak.
Right.
So you don't get really a lot of those oak notes. So a lot of the earthy notes are what really come through.
And it's coming straight from the clay.
It's coming from, obviously, from the ground. It's coming from from the sorghum or the wheat, and it's coming from, the pits that have been used, from the pots that have been used. So that's why there's so much uniqueness, and you'll never have two baijius that are the same.
I was going to say I've seen a big difference.
Oh, they're made in different styles. There are different, just general classifications of different styles of them, which we will make sure to do another episode on it.
We'll have a whole day for baijiu.
Oh, we'll have at least another day for everything. We're just kind of scratching the surface as best we can because we could sit here and talk for hours about all this.
And that's probably one of my favorite things about these Asian spirits is that it's not just a lot of Cabernets will be very straightforward and very simple, at least in relation to one another. If we're looking at wines, oftentimes you'll pick up one Pinot Grigio and you'll pick up another Pinot Grigio, and they're pretty indistinguishable. But with these Asian spirits, we see a lot of variance, a lot of really interesting idiosyncrasies.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's just like in wine. I mean, there's so many variables. I mean, obviously, the type of rice that you used, where or the type of grain that you used, where it was grown, what water source you used. There's so many different ways, even with the same raw products.
Right.
With the same with baijiu or with sake, you can make two completely different end products.
God knows when we talk about sake again later, I'd love to get into the different varietals of rice.
Oh yeah, and for the next time, and just for everyone, we'll bring in so you can try multiple different rices and multiple different styles with the same rice, just so you can kind of taste more of the difference, and just so everyone can know a little bit more about it.
I was going to say, going forward here at Frederick Winehouse, you folks listening at home can expect to see more tastings of these spirits. I know we've traditionally done a lot of just regular old wine or liquor tastings, but we want to make sure that we get these products in the hands and the mouths of the consumer.
Oh, I think once we get the listeners to try it, I think they'll start to understand
exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly what we're talking about. So, you will see me here with some sake. I may bring the popcorn too, just so we can kind of.
Great idea.
Oh yeah. No, we'll definitely have some fun with it. we'll have a lot of fun with it because I really want people to be able to try sake and to try the baijiu because I didn't until I started working with it. I didn't really know that much about it, but then it's so easy to just fall head over heels for it and then just have it just be, your favorite.
Right. Until I started getting into it, the only exposure that I'd ever had was going out to the sushi joint and getting the ceramic bottle of hot sake. But now there's so much.
Oh yeah, no, with the warm sake again. Some of there's a great time and place for warm sake. Not all of it should be warm. There's some that should be cold, but again, those are things that we can talk about in the future. We can
discuss those at length further.
We can discuss those at length further, and if you have any questions, just come in and talk to you.
Absolutely.
Now, I know you've tried this before, but we're gonna give just so everyone can get an idea. We're gonna try some of the baijiu, some of the intencha.
And now this is just a beautiful little bottle. I love the ceramic here. For all our viewers at home, I'm actually going to take these headphones off and come around just to get this bottle in front of the camera. Look at this. Just
Oh no, it's definitely a looker, and one of the reasons that it is so red is actually a lucky color in China. So that's one of the reasons for the color of the bottle and for the name.
the red lucky, yep.
I know you've had a little bit of this in your time, but it's always your opinion on it. It's always you always almost get something new every time that you taste it.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, so Red Lucky was my introduction to Baijiu as well. And like I said, the first time tasting it had one reaction, and then over in the next several days, I really accustomed my palate to it a lot more.
yeah, it's just
It's almost a little bit sweet on the nose.
yeah, you get a little bit you get that there is a little bit of that, and then you get a lot of this like kind of like wild grain quality.
Yeah.
You do get this like little bit of like grassiness, earthiness.
It's bright, it's bold.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's it may not be for everybody, but I think especially for our listeners that are liking for like whiskeys.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I think obviously I love all different kinds of whiskey, but sometimes changing up a little bit of what you have or what you drink is a good idea, because I know everyone I love bourbons, but at some point they have the same kind of characteristics.
Right, you're still going to get the brown sugar and the toasted cane and the caramel.
So it's kind of nice to try something that doesn't have that, that doesn't have that, barrel age, kind of that barrel age sweetness to it, and something that's a little bit more on the earthy side.
And you mentioned white whiskey earlier, and now that I'm thinking about it, because I've had a good number of moonshines in my life. This is almost a little bit like a moonshine.
Yeah.
It's got that cleanliness. It's got a little bit of nuttiness to it.
It does, but it has almost like a little salinity to it too.
Absolutely.
The big thing though is, you really do taste, that it, like you really do taste like the earth in it. Which, I know, that's kind of, we're using a lot of just like liquor taster talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, it's the one great thing when you have spirits especially from other countries or from other regions, is sometimes you can't travel there. So it's almost like a way to connect with another place, even though you can't be there. So you kind of get a sense for, different places in the world without necessarily being there. Because this is kind of an expression of that area. So, that's where I really appreciate a lot of these products, because it's almost like a little travel.
Right. And I mean, as we were talking about before with tradition, when you partake in these spirits, you're partaking in hundreds of years old tradition.
Oh yeah, yeah, and there's so much pride in what we have here, that they want to keep the traditions alive. Things are made as traditional as possible. Intencha is a little bit newer.
Okay.
But they use the old,
very traditional
styles and methods, because that's it's a point of pride. It's your, it's the most drank spirit in China and the entire world. More baijius drank in China than I think vodka, rum, gin, and tequila worldwide.
And I'm sure you could chalk a good amount of that up to the population, but
it's
beyond that, it's got to be good for people to want it.
Yeah, and again, they all have, there's going to be preferences from, brands and regions, but it's also it's a point of pride. It's almost it's almost like we think of whiskey here, and
Right.
you know, I know more areas other than
Bourbon
just
County,
yeah,
Kentucky, but
Kentucky are starting to make whiskey, but it's but if you think about whiskey as like a worldwide category, it's kind of an expression of
right. A very
yeah.
American kind of or Western tradition.
So yeah, so this is, I mean, it's just it's just awesome and unique.
Really warms the soul too.
Yeah, and so the one thing that I have also found is, obviously I love really like good and delicious spirits, but I think inherently but I have tried so many good things that I almost forget about all the good things that I've had because
Yeah.
it's good and I'm like, oh man, that's really delicious.
I'll add it to my list of 100 things that I love.
But this is always on like the top of the list because it intrigues me and it's unique.
It's
And-
very identifiable.
And I like unique. I think I've been blessed in my industry to be able to try so many good things, but I kind of now am searching more for things that are just not only delicious but also unique.
Something
And,
different.
And that's also what this just having all these products in this portfolio does for me is I try and work with unique things, unique products all the time. So it's absolutely amazing.
And of course, we're just scratching the surface. This is just one Baijiu out of several.
Oh yeah. Oh, we're just scratching the surface. But I think if people come in and try it, I think they'll be pleasantly surprised.
Absolutely.
With how good it is.
Especially if you're used to your white whiskeys. I mean, I know out here in Frederick, small little shout out to McClintock. There's a local distillery out here that does a white whiskey that's very popular, and I think a lot of our local listeners might really enjoy Baijiu if they came in and tried it.
Yeah, no, it's again for the uniqueness and especially if you're either drinking by yourself at home or if you're having friends over, a lot of what we have here are great for just you have some friends come over, you want to do something different because everybody kind of has the same game plan
Right.
when they have people over, but throw a curveball in and
Absolutely.
you'll really, really wow people and then just have a lot of fun.
A nice bottle of sake can make a fantastic talking point. It can be an entire conversation starter at a party.
Yeah.
I mean, God knows if everybody's showing up with their Miller Lite and their Moscato or somebody's got a bottle of Cabernet. You show up with a bottle of sake, you're gonna wow the crowd.
Yeah, or if you are playing cards with your friends and everyone's drinking whiskey or something like that, and you bring this.
Yeah.
You put you bring that, you put that on the table. People will be like, "What is that?" Like I want to try this.
Well, and speaking of parties, I've heard that Baijiu is kind of a party drink in China.
Yes, I mean, but it's also interesting how it's kind of drank there. They have very little shot glasses.
Yeah,
and
the
that's-
little the triangular doodads.
They're all sorts of shapes and sizes, but they're
Okay.
usually around like an ounce or less. So that's kind of how traditionally it's drank, is neat with just in smaller shots. However, now that it's kind of made its way over here, I know a lot of different restaurants and we'll say mixologists are really starting to use it for its just great qualities that it has and its cocktail making abilities.
Oh, so you can make some serious mixed drinks with this
Oh,
too.
Oh yeah, you can. I mean, you can also if you ever want, you can switch up one thing I always like to do is just go with your classics.
Yeah.
Make a classic variation with it. Try it in, if you're going to try it in a whiskey sour.
Okay.
Try it in different cocktails that you'd make. Like, try it, try it in an old fashioned, or just try it in many different ways and just see kind of how you like it.
Might take an entirely new spin on an old classic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like to use the classics for just general variation. Just because the base works well, and just kind of just tinkering along with that, especially
Right.
if you're at home, because you can make some, just using slight variations on classics, you can make some amazing cocktails at home. You don't even, you don't have to be a
Master mixologist
No.
or nothing. Yeah.
No, I mean, even, I usually make the cocktails at home, but off of just, ingredients that we had in the fridge and a basic recipe off that she saw off TikTok. My wife, a couple weeks ago, made like mind-blowing margarita.
Interesting.
Yeah, she used a little bit of mezcal in that.
Okay.
So, which, I love mezcal, and I know that it's not part of this, but I almost see a little bit of, I see a lot of correlation between some like mezcal and with the Baijiu, just because of that like kind of very made in the earth qualities that they have.
Yeah, the little bit of spice that it has on it, and also just how different it can be for a lot of tequila drinkers. If they've never had mezcal before, it can be a whole new experience. Just like how for our whiskey drinkers, Baijiu is similar and on a similar kind of wavelength, but a different kind of vibe, different interpretation.
Exactly. And I think that's, I think it's just kind of important for us to just to branch out and just try new things, because you'd be surprised. I didn't think I'd be as much of a fan until...
Me neither. It really surprising.
Because sometimes if you look online, you just hear, like,
Right.
you see, like, oh my gosh, like, never do it. But I will say, because some are very different than others and are a lot more intense. But that's why just come in here, I think you even have those in the smaller bottles, so you can just pick up a...
I think we have this size and then the 750s.
That is a 750.
That's the I thought that was a 375.
No.
I guess we do have the smaller bottle.
Yeah, this is a 750.
Well, hot damn.
Yeah.
I do indeed have the smaller bottles, folks.
So just come in, try a little bit, and see how you like it.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's where the great thing is, everything that we have here in front of you, you can find here and more. I mean, the section that you have is moved and grown so much.
We probably have more Asian spirits than any liquor store that I've seen so far. Most of the time, I'll see like a couple bottles of Gekkeikan stashed away in the back somewhere. But here at Frederick Winehouse, we keep a good solid stock and a lot of variety.
Oh yeah, no, it's fantastic to have to work with you all, just because, I mean, what you can get here is amazing. I love coming here. This is...
Well, we love having you.
So,
I was going to say, I see the Red Lucky, but then we've got this tiny little guy next to him.
know.
What's up with that?
oh, we're going to tease the smaller one until a little bit later.
Okay.
We're going to go to another one of our favorites, which is going to be soju.
Love me some soju.
I know. I trust me. Soju is a party.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. And so soju is actually, it's a Korean spirit.
Okay.
I mean, and we have two different ones here. We have Sero, which is made by a company called Chumchurum.
Yep.
And Chumchurum also has a line called Sunhari, which is flavored soju. And Sunhari was the first to make flavored soju. And here today we have the yogurt for the Sunhari.
Probably one of the most popular flavors that you can get a hold of.
It's just it's just like a favorite of mine, so that's why. They have a lot of other great flavors also, like strawberry. There's peach. There's the apple mango, which is very unique.
So there's a lot of fantastic variety when we look at sojus. We are just about running out of time today, but hopefully we'll be able to come back and do a bunch more work on this stuff here.
We didn't really get much of a chance to talk, as we said, because we're wrapping up about soju, and soju is the biggest selling spirit worldwide. So that just goes to show you how much there is in this category.
So then we could probably say that soju on its own is worth an entire episode of
more
The Voice of the House.
More than worth an entire episode. So
then I hate to leave our listeners waiting. I hate to leave them wanting for more. But, I mean, tune in next time or in the future.
Yeah, tune in next time and we will pick up where we left off and talk about the world of soju. But what I will tell you is it is fantastic. It is delicious. You have all the different flavors and kinds here.
Absolutely.
So I say just come in and try it and enjoy it.
Yeah, and we'll see more of you here, Al.
I mean, we left everyone hanging. If I don't come back, then there may be mutiny.
I'll mutiny if you don't come back.
So I think, I think this is great. We just scratched the surface of everything. Mm-hmm. Even though we did speak for quite a bit of time about sake and baijiu, but we haven't even touched it.
There's so much more to talk about.
There's so much more. So I appreciate it. I will
Absolutely. It's been a blast having you here and talking to you.
No, it's been great, and hopefully, we can do this again soon, and we will let you all know. I will be here, as often as I can to taste with all the different products that we have, just so people get to really try what we're talking about, and just try some delicious.
Absolutely.
Yeah, delicious products that,
you might never have gotten a chance to try otherwise.
Yeah, and are insanely popular throughout the world.
And for those of our listeners, especially people who are around here in Frederick and in Maryland, you'll likely be able to catch our tastings here on Fridays and Saturdays starting around noon. Whether it's myself or maybe Al or we got all sorts of cool stuff going on here at Frederick Wine House.
Definitely.
And you can find all of these products here in our sake section. You can ask any of our wonderful crew, and we'll be happy to help you find all this stuff. But it's been a pleasure, sir.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. I thank you for having me, and I hope we get to do much more of this, and then we get to, spend more time just on some of the different categories that we have.
Just gushing about the stuff we love. Absolutely.
I know. We ran out of time before we could do it all. So
we'll
have to do it for the next one.
Looks like we'll have to do more. And thank you all, thanks to our listeners for tuning in and supporting Frederick Wine House. Catch y'all later.